Hi, Druhi. I think we can begin. We are going. I think we are live already. So,
Hello to everybody who's joining us in today. Good afternoon. A quick introduction about Digigrad. Digigrad is a digital training institute initiative started by Social Beat. And a bit about Social Beat. It was started in 2012. It's in one of India's fastest growing independent digital agencies. And we are partnered with Google, Facebook, and we're across Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, and Delhi. Quick introduction on about myself. My name is Tui Sethi, and I'm the digital marketing manager for Social Media and Influencer.in, and now a trainer at Digigrad. And now about our speaker today, Mr. Harry Sangha, who is a digital media professional with over 10 years of experience in planning, revenue, and strategy. He's currently leading the independent agency business for LinkedIn in India and comes with an experience of having presented publishers like NDTV, MSN, and The Economist. He considers a game of football or a couple of hours in the kitchen as his path to peace. Over to you, Harry.
thank you for those lovely words, Druhi. Great to be part of the initiative at Digigrad, and I hope that I'll be able to deliver some value to the audience today. I think, in the interest of time, we can move ahead and let's just begin.
Sure. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can.
Yeah, I'll just do that. Is it visible?
Yes, Harry, I can see.
All right. Perfect. So let's just begin by giving you a basic download of LinkedIn and its environment and how we are, of value in the entire social ecosystem. We are a network of around 706 million professionals globally, India being the second largest market in terms of professional network, only after US in terms of a standard country. And what's extremely important is that, more than being the largest professional network, it is that unique network enriched by that first party data, which gives you very unique attributes to reach out to. For example, IT decision makers. We have about 4.1 million IT decision makers globally, about 6.8 million CXO level executives, about 22.8 million mass affluent influencers around the world, about 40 million decision makers and opinion leaders and senior level executives, which you can reach out to on the platform using relevant content and actually enhance the presence of your brand. Now, what's even more interesting is that, we started as a professional network where the idea was to look for job opportunities and post job opportunities and create a sort of a connection between people looking for jobs and companies looking to hire, so that right talent could be hired with the right potential. But during the years, what has actually happened is that we've evolved to a place which is far greater than just a job posting portal. We've become sort of a community on its own right. I mean, what's interesting is now that 15 times higher impressions are served on content pieces vis-a-vis job postings on LinkedIn at this very moment. We serve around 9 billion content impressions on a weekly basis. And when I say content impressions, do not include any connotations of a job post or a job seeking post. So this is purely news, purely content which is relevant and enriching, something that audiences are putting up, professionals are putting up, brands are putting up to enrich the lives of the community, and communities are interacting with each other. Of course, having said that, mobile is leading the way, while in terms of sheer impressions, it's at 80% of our total consumption pattern, but it is also contributing 57% of the time that is being consumed by professionals on LinkedIn on the smaller screen. Now, what's so important, as I mentioned again, is that the way LinkedIn has evolved, it has evolved in a way that we enable our audiences and brands to be part of communities. We encourage them to be part of the active conversations, meaningful conversations. And basis this, two of our most popular, most engaged with sections are the top news sections on the right, and the hashtag or group section on the left rail, which sort of have started taking over in terms of the engagement when it comes to professionals engaging, whether it be on their pages or when they are interacting with brands through brand pages. Now this is very interesting. This is very interesting because before we post any sort of content on any platform, it is important to understand why we are posting a certain piece of content on those platforms. And this is where Interpret conducted a study last year wherein the idea was they tried to understand the mindset with which consumers and members actually approach different social media platforms when they logged on to those platforms. And what was really interesting was to, and very heartening to see at LinkedIn, was that LinkedIn was not LinkedIn emerged as a platform which was an intentional scroll rather than a meaningless scroll. There was an intent or a purpose behind somebody logging into LinkedIn and trying to seek content or information on LinkedIn. Uh, what we also saw through the nuances of the study was that the idea, the basic crux or basic idea behind getting onto LinkedIn was to better their lives, to learn something new, to achieve a particular or attain a particular goal, or to achieve a particular task, which meant that it's the intent of being there on LinkedIn visibly, let's say a Facebook or a Twitter, was far more serious for a LinkedIn user. Now, this is further corroborated by the Business Insider intelligence study that's been happening ever since 2017, and we've been right at the top of it for the last 3 years. The 2020 data is yet to come, but we're very confident that we'll be right that at the top again. Now, what's again heartening and what corroborates my last point here is that in terms of legitimacy of content that is being read on social media platforms, LinkedIn, in fact, ranked twice as high. So, in fact, the trust factor on LinkedIn was 70%, wherein the closest second was around 32%, which is something which further strengthens our resolve and further validates my point that why it is important to have a very sound sorted content strategy, and why LinkedIn is such a meaningful platform, because the trust factor in the content that is there on LinkedIn is far higher compared to any other social media network that you might be considering as part of your content strategy funnel. Now that we've understood that trust plays a great factor, LinkedIn is a trusted platform, and we have the world's professional network in a very serious intent mode here, it's important to understand how do we leverage that, and how do we build that compelling organic presence through our company's brand or brand pages, content pieces on LinkedIn. And this is something that I'll try and take you guys through, try and give you some nuances of what you can look at and how you can plan or decide or build your content accordingly, so that you can leverage this entire network strength to the maximum potential. The first and foremost and the most important factor that you need to consider is that complete your page. Build a compelling LinkedIn page. Ensure that all the information that is there on that is mandated for that page is there. Because what we've seen is that pages which have complete information and all fields filled up generally tend to perform 5 to 6 times better in terms of page views compared to pages which are incomplete or are missing informations and parts of the puzzles. Now, second is try and publish and share content regularly. And third is always try and attract new followers. So if I have to put a benchmark, 150 followers is the minimum that I recommend that you have on your brand page before you start exploring the possibility of getting into that multiplication factor and using your particular brand page on LinkedIn to leverage further conversions or conversations. Even for a paid strategy, I would recommend. In fact, for a paid strategy, I would recommend that go as high as 1,000 followers, because LinkedIn as a platform works best when your brand is known on that platform. Not necessarily that the TCS would do better than a small company like, let's say, the Happiest Minds, which just recently launched its IPO. That's not the case. The case is how well do LinkedIn professionals in that relevant industry know Happiest Minds or know TCS. So what we've seen is that the biggest of organizations sometimes lag from the smallest of organizations when it comes to engagement, when it comes to number of shares or activity on those particular pages, because they've been doing their content strategy right, and they've been posting more relevantly and more regularly, while the bigger corporations are sort of lagging behind in that strategy. Now, here are the 7 essentials that you need to definitely have before you move ahead to posting content. And these are the basics of your LinkedIn page completion cycle that need to be met. A, have a logo. Always have a logo. A logo lends credibility. It gives you a different identity. It gives your brand the unique positioning that it needs to differentiate itself. Secondly, have a tagline. Don't have a very lengthy tagline. Ideally, don't have a tagline that is more than 1 to 2 sentences, but have a tagline. Have a tagline that ties up into your mission and your vision. Something that relates to what your company is all about, what your brand's all about, and what you're trying to achieve, and what value you are looking to add to the members universe. Third, have a description. When I say have a description of the company, ideally between 2 to 3 paragraphs, not more than that. These 2 to 3 paragraphs should cover an elaboration of your tagline or your mission and your vision, a sense of an idea of what your value proposition or your services are, or what you're offering. And third, your legacy, if there is any, right? How, what is behind that brand, how that brand was built. But again, keep it succinct. Don't have too lengthy of descriptions. Ideally, a description ranging between 2 to 3 paragraphs is a very ideal scenario to have it. Have a website URL. Have a working website URL, and ensure that that website URL is mobile friendly. As I said, 80% of your impressions and click-throughs are coming from the smaller screen devices. So ensure that whatever website URL you're using is optimized for mobile and the smaller screen. Another very important factor, which generally a lot of brands tend to ignore, is always have your industry type mentioned on your LinkedIn page. This is important from the standpoint of how LinkedIn works and how the algorithm at LinkedIn works in terms of its backend. When people are searching for a particular organization or a particular brand page, industry role plays a massive role in that search. So always get your page tagged with the right industry. And second, and then have your organizations type. What type of an organization, whether you're a proprietary organization, whether you're a public listed company, whether you're a private limited company, or you're limited liability partnership, whatever, but do have it. And finally, always put in a location. If you're based out of Delhi, you're headquartered out of Delhi, say Delhi. If New Delhi, if you're headquartered out of Mumbai or Maharashtra, say Mumbai and Maharashtra, because these tags at the back end play a very important role when it comes to members searching for a particular brand or an organization to look for. Now, once you've had your page, it's time to put up your content, right? Now, it's important to understand when to post, what to post, and how to post. I'll try and take you through this journey and try and give you some pointers on, how to best optimize each 3 scenarios to understand what would be an optimum content strategy or framework when it comes to deciding the proper content for LinkedIn. Let's start by understanding when to post. Now, the most ideal recommendation is that if your brand can make at least 1 post daily uh, through your LinkedIn page, is something that is highly recommended. But the minimum that you should be doing is ideally, 2 posts a month. don't don't make it lesser than that. Post at least twice a month. Try and do it fortnightly if you can, but the most ideal scenario would be to post, at least make 1 to 2 posts daily. Now what we've seen is that, companies that have been making at least a daily post have generally ended up being twice more active or engaged, vis-a-vis the companies who are not posting daily. What is significantly important here to note is the member and the follower engagement. What we've seen is that companies that are posting daily generally have 40% followers who come back to the company page on a daily basis to check for what's new or what's being updated, which is a significant level of engagement and something that is highly encouraging. And that's why I always say that, I tell my clients, I tell my stakeholders that try and post at least once a day. Now what we've seen that, try and post daily. Now let's try and understand what to post and, how to do it, in a very engagement manner. Now here is where a tool, that we launched some time back comes into the picture. There's something called a content suggestions. Now content suggestions is something that would help you, understand what is trending in a particular audience set. So what you can actually do is you can actually go to the, content suggestions. You can pick up an industry, you can pick up a location, and you can pick up, the target audiences that you're looking for. Example, whether you're looking to reach out to doctors or GPs, or you're looking to reach out to engineers or management professionals or financial analysts or chartered accountants, or whosoever you're trying to look at. It will give you a narrow, it will narrow down your research, and it'll give you the top trends of what, members in that particular segment are consuming at this very moment. And don't worry about this being done on a daily basis. Even if you do it weekly, it is a very good task to do it weekly, because unlike the likes of Twitter, uh, LinkedIn trends don't change on a daily basis, because these trends are more sustainable compared to LinkedIn, compared to, let's say, Twitter. While Twitter is talking about, the likes of hashtag Kangana Ranaut or hashtag media on a daily basis, LinkedIn is talking about things like how brands are telling their employees to take a day off, or how a particular company is readying up to launch its first, IPO, right? So these conversations are not conversations that will die out in a day or a two or a 3 day or change every other day. So these are sustainable trends. So these actually would help you, even if you do a weekly exercise of going through the content suggestions, figuring out what the top trends are. It will still give you a very decent window to plan your content strategy accordingly. Second is something that we've recently done. Once you've figured out what the trends is, try and engage your audiences, try and engage your followers, put up a lot of polls, uh, seek their feedback as to what they will like to engage or what they would like to understand. Polls is a feature that we recently unlocked on LinkedIn, and ever since it has been unlocked, it has, yielded some substantial results for our content marketing peers and in the industry, and brands have been leveraging it to the core, and it's been very fruitful. So I will highly encourage, use polls to ask your audiences what content they are, trying to gauge their mindset and understanding of what they want to consume. Again, if you can, if you have the capability, if your brand has, I'm sure they have the experts, try and go live on LinkedIn once in a while. Try and create your custom events on LinkedIn. Why I'm saying this is because what we have seen is that videos or snippets out of live interactions or live posts, which can further be used as content material going forward, works wonderfully well on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is something that generally, because the trust factor and the belief and the legitimacy factor is so high, organic videos that are just, let's say, shot on a mobile or shot on a very simple frame, or somebody interacting with the audience live, talking to them, giving out certain snippets, those kind of content pieces actually generally go or perform much better on LinkedIn vis-a-vis other social media platforms, because it is backed and comes from a place of legitimacy, and you know that an expert is talking or a thought leadership piece is being worked out on those LinkedIn live sessions. So try and explore LinkedIn live, try and explore LinkedIn events. It's a great engagement matrix to go for. Further, if you have a special announcement, if there is a key marquee point that is being communicated, if there is a shift or a trend that is being put out there, or if there's a milestone that is achieved, try and create a custom placement banner for it. Try and put it out as a special case. Try and do it. For example, in this example, message from LinkedIn about COVID, right? This is a custom banner that was created just to reach out to the followers around what's happening in that regard. So try and do that, leverage this position from time to time, especially when there are key marquee important events or milestones that are being met with your brand. Now, this is something that is critically important, and this is something a lot of brands don't do. Try and leverage the potential of your employees and your customers and your partners on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, unlike uh, uh, another social media platform, is a relevant, it's a serious platform. Use the tagging correctly. If you're, for example, if a brand is being putting something and it is attributing a certain quote to somebody in the organization, tag that person. It enhances your reach by factors that it actually doesn't only limit your post organically to the followers of your page, it also enhances your post's reach to the followers of the person that you're tagging. Also, uh, whenever somebody is tagging your company page, you receive a notification in your activity log on the top right corner of your LinkedIn brand page. Scroll through those activity tags, look at how people have tagged you or your brand, look for positive stories out of it and reshare those stories. Because when you repost and reshare those stories, that is when you reach out to a far greater audience than what you would be. And this comes from a place uh, which is not owned by your brand. This comes from a more credible place where somebody neutral, somebody who's worked with you, or somebody's tagged you for a positive connotation. Always look through the activity lag. uh, Look for stories and tags where your page has been mentioned in the positive light. Try and share those stories and reshare those stories and reshare those tags to increase your reach. Again, finally, uh, do include videos. Videos is something that LinkedIn came late to the party with, but we've come right. uh, Ever since it's been launched, now the engagement on videos on LinkedIn is 5 times higher than anything else. It is 5 times higher than text or single image content posts. Try and leverage those videos, but try and leverage organic videos. Try and showcase these videos in the form of let's say behind the scenes of how things happen at, for example, how a work day looks like in your organization. A vertical mobile format, for example, in this example, in this screen, you can see that the video that Harvard shared is one of their most popular and viral videos, and it is just a video shot on mobile of one of their students in one of their arts classes, practicing her, or going about the rhythm of how they teach dance, right? It's that simple. Another example, look at HubSpot here. HubSpot is something that he's been using or leveraging content in a beautiful manner. So what they've been doing is they've been giving out a lot of presentations and PDFs for free. And another great thing that you can do on LinkedIn is you can actually upload your PDFs and PPTs directly onto LinkedIn, and the users can actually scroll through them right there on the medium without having to download them. And that's something that HubSpots have done brilliantly over the years, and they're one of the most you know uh, engaged or sought after brands when it comes to such content. So always try and do that. Don't try and keep your content gated. It might work on other platforms, it doesn't work on LinkedIn. Ungated content content that is out there, content that is enriching and is adding value to me as a user is something that drives a lot of engagement and also end conversions. Even if your objective is to get leads at the end of the day, ungated content will give you better leads. This is our experience of the medium compared to gated content, because it shows your willingness, your confidence, and it enriches more trust or enshrines more trust in your brand. This is super important. Engage your audiences. Don't keep your conversations one-sided. Revert or answer your comments, or create conversations which are two-sided, right? For example, Netflix does this on a very regular basis, wherein they would ask very simple of questions like, ask your top peers how is it like working at Netflix, and they would respond to those queries and they would create that engagement. And in fact, what we've seen is that, a uh, lot of peers from the industry who are actually not working with Netflix would come in and pitch their stories and come in and pitch their ideas. Amazon does it in a very beautiful way. In this particular example, what they did was they simply asked their employees to summarize their CVs in 3 lines. It was that simple. In fact, they got so much traction out of it that not only Amazon employees, but employees from all across just started pouring in with their suggestions of, what their CV would look like in three lines. So always look for conversations and always look for engagement, which is two-way. Don't keep it one way. Don't keep a close-ended conversation. Try and keep an open-ended conversation and try and revert to the comments and answer queries. This is something that helps you acquire a lot of followers, and this is something that works very well on LinkedIn, especially because the clutter and legitimacy and the trust factor and the strength of the content is so high that it sparks a meaningful conversation. It's very rarely, or in fact, I don't recall an example, at least in my particular instance, where I've seen a conversation going wayward or going wrong. So do that. And then finally, leverage analytics. Go to your LinkedIn page analytics page, try and see how trends are going, try and see what kind of people or what kind of designations or what kind of target audience is engaging with your content. And then pick up those target audiences, go to content suggestion and see what kind of content they are interacting with. Another very important factor is that you can actually, you know, uh, you can actually pitch, or you can actually there's a section called companies to follow in that analytics page, where you can see what kind of content your peers or companies are putting up, which these or your the target audience, which is similar to your company followers, is actually consuming on a very regular basis or engaging highly with. So always try and go to the LinkedIn analytics, try and see and figure out how you can leverage more on, you can stream or alter your strategy on your LinkedIn content strategy after going through what your audience and how your audience is behaving to it. In the end, I'll just leave you with this simple checklist. For text, lead with a question, try and capture your audiences, make it a two-way conversations. Don't make it too long and jarring. Keep it up to 140 to 150 characters. Try and give out things out for free. If you have a PDF that is informative, if you have a white paper that can be read by them, put it out there. Don't gate it. Don't keep it yourself. Don't look for them to add or give you some information and then you'll give it for free. If you give it for free, there's a very high likelihood that they will give you that information. And always be very clear about what you want your audiences to be doing on your landing page and what audiences you are going after. It is very important to call out your audiences. Look for images that are bold, that stand out. Look at images that are relevant to the context that you're putting up. Infographics are a great tool. Use them on LinkedIn because they're informative, they are eye-catching, and they give out stats and they give out numbers which are catching which grab attention. Ensure that your landing page is clear, clean, and is mobile friendly. If you're using a form, ideally I would say use don't have more than 4 to 5 fields for them to fill up. The more the fields, the higher the likelihood of them dropping off. Another very important factor is that, especially when you're, let's say, putting out sponsored content pieces, is as per our intention of being members first. LinkedIn member in a 48-hour window cannot see more than four iterations of a brand ad, right? So in fact, even for in mailers or messaging ads that you send out, or messages that you send out to your any sponsored message, any individual or any user on LinkedIn can only receive one sponsored in mail or email in a period of 30 days, irrespective of what brand or what company it is. For example, if I have a brand, if I have an email in mail from somebody like an Infosys, I won't even receive anything from a Hyundai, though they are not related to each other at all. So ensure that you have around 4 content pieces live when you're trying to reach out. Especially sponsored content pieces have different iterations. Now let's look, now that we understand what to post, we understand when to post. Let's try and understand how to post it and what to figure out or what to keep in mind when you're trying to post content pieces on LinkedIn. Firstly, leverage community hashtags. When I say community hashtags, let me give you an example. Let's say let me give you an example from LinkedIn Marketing Solutions. So we went to Davos, right? We went to Davos, and LinkedIn Marketing Solutions had to put our feeds on Davos. So we used community hashtags around Davos as part of that content piece. Now, community hashtags on LinkedIn are clickable. It gives you a great idea of understanding how people are interacting and what kind of people are part of that hashtag and how people are consuming content in that particular hashtag. So use a lot of community hashtags, but again, don't treat LinkedIn hashtags like Twitter. Volume or quantity is not the priority here. The priority here is quality. Use content hashtag, community hashtags that are relevant to you. For example, if you're reaching out with a financial services piece, you're reaching out a financial analyst, use hashtag like hashtag financial analyst. Don't use the world full of hashtags like advertising and this and that. Keep it very relevant. Keep it relevant to your audiences, because on a platform like LinkedIn, it is important to spark the right conversation. It is important to spark the conversation with the right kind of people as well. It is not, the objective is not to go viral and not to be seen by the world. The objective is to be seen by the right kind of people in the right world in our own sense. So hence use the right quality hashtags. Use 3 to 4 hashtags, not more than that. That's a very good number to use with your uh, up to 3 to 4 hashtags, not more than that. But use quality hashtags, but definitely use hashtags, and use group or community hashtags. They work very, very well on LinkedIn. Again, as I've pointed out, now we also offer something called a mobile admin, wherein which allows you to post right on the go using your mobile dashboards. So you don't have to go get to your office, sit on your laptop and do, or create a post or put something. You come across something that is relevant, that is organic, that you think makes sense. You can create that post on mobile. Use the power, make it instantaneous. For example, especially when you're talking about, your brand is talking about events, right? Now events, if you wait for the event to get over and then start posting stuff, you've lost half the attention there, right? So use your mobile admin uh, uh, portfolio tool to post it right in there and post on the go. Okay, let's summarize. The ideal strategy of posting or frequency is ideally post at least once a day. Try and leverage on the suggestions, content suggestions tab. Look at what your target audience that you're trying to reach out to is consuming, what is trending in that ecosystem. Try and build your content around that. Enhance the power of your employees and enhance the power of your brand using your employees and your partners. Try tagging, call them out, use @mentions. Try and use images and videos. Images and videos work far better than content, because the processing time for images and videos is much faster. But when it comes to videos, I would highly recommend, since mobile is the primary source of consumption of videos, try and have subtitles in your videos. So videos on subtitles on LinkedIn as a platform work far better in terms of engagement and responsiveness, or reacting to those uh, particular content pieces, vis-a-vis videos that have sound and don't have subtitles. And always respond to the comments, respond to your audiences. This will really help you get more followers. This will help your page shine better. uh, and then again, use community hashtags, use mobile, the power of mobile to post instantaneously and regularly. Finally, something that I have to mention, don't shy away from using the paid medium. Don't shy away from promoting your content or putting money behind it if you feel that it is important and it is doing relevantly well for you. And especially given the fact that it is not only, I mean, you just don't have to create a post for sponsoring it. You can actually sponsor a post from your feed as well. So if you think there is a feed that there's a content post that you put up that is doing relevantly well for you or your brand, why not put some money behind it? Why not leverage the power of LinkedIn's targeting and first party data and reach out to more relevant audiences beyond? It will only help uh, get you eyeballs among the more relevant and the target audience that you're eventually trying to reach out, and help create a bigger conversion funnel for you. Again, we are probably the only professional network which has first party data which is relevant, authentic, and verifiable, and has been put up by the audiences itself. So why not leverage it? Why not use it to target, to enhance the reach of it, reach of your post? These are some of the some of the data pointers that you can use to target and reach out to audiences. But once you're starting with your content strategy for the first time in terms of paid promotions, I would highly recommend that don't use more than 3 to 4 targeting parameters. And always create 2 sets of targeting parameters. Do an A/B testing, optimize your monies, make slight alterations in your creatives or in your posts, and see which one of them is working better after a week, and then try and optimize your spends on that particular post and that particular targeting structure. Now let's understand how to. Now we've understood that we need to post, what are the factors we need to consider, but it's also important to understand how do we create that content which will work on LinkedIn. So here are some practices and suggestions that would really help you do that in a manner. Now, firstly, it's important to understand the intent with which you're putting up a content piece. We've established that LinkedIn, the intent is more serious. You're there, the audience is there to accomplish a particular task, and hence, it is a great medium for putting up relevant content. Why it is a great medium for relevant content? Because multiple studies have shown that if you're right there, if you're there with the intent mindset of completing a particular task, you are more receptive, at least about 2 times more receptive to take action or accept or adopt the content pieces that you read on that particular subject. Here, this is what is extremely important when it comes to knowing the intent. Mostly brands confuse informational intent and transactional intent. Please understand they're not the same. They're two different aspects of intent. Wherein the informational intent is about members first, it is about adding value, it is about giving out information that will enhance your knowledge base. The transactional intent is all about leading conversions. So it is more selfish, wherein the informational intent is more giving, more elaborate in terms of its approach, which I just don't know. The idea is brand awareness, to have topic ownership, to incite a particular sentiment, to get a share of voice, to reach a larger audience when I'm putting out information. which is based on informational intent. While when you're putting out transactional intent, the idea is how do I get my ROI better? How do I get more leads out of it? How do I get more people talking to my brand out of it? So it is very important to understand what is the intention behind putting out that content, and then you start designing your content. And once you've decided on the intent with which you're putting out content, always put it through the benefit ladder. So this is something that we swear by when it comes to creating content on LinkedIn. The idea is that firstly you start with what is the target group you're looking to reach out to, whether it is doctors, whether it is engineers, whether it is business professionals, whether it is data science people. Know your audience first. Decide who are you making this content for, even if it's for consumers, right? What sort of consumers are you trying to, what segment of consumers are you trying to reach out to? And then look for insights that matter to those consumers. Now, once you've decided, okay, these are the insights that matter to those consumers, these are their pain points, and these are the consumers that I want to reach out to, then look for product features that would address those particular nuances. Once you've identified the first two, then look for functional benefits. Put yourself in the shoes of the final target audience and see what value will this content piece add to me? What functional value will it add to my life as a target when I'm reading this content piece or looking or going through this video or scrolling through this presentation or PDF? And then at the end, the most important factor is you always need to tie it to an emotional aspect. Now, let's take an example here, right? Consider Paytm, right? They're in the news for the wrong reasons today, but just let's consider them. Their target audience is people, working professionals who are always on the go, looking for easier mediums to do their regular transactions. What product features? It's a one-stop destination to pay your DTH bills. It puts everything together. You can pay your electricity bill, you can recharge your mobiles, you can do a whole lot of financial transactions just from your mobile. You don't have to go to places, you don't have to scroll through multiple uh, you know sites. Then what is the functional benefit? Well, it saves time. It saves time for me as a user. I can do it in a far shorter duration. I mean, cashbacks and everything is something that is secondary, right? But the primary functional benefit, it saves time. And what is the emotional quotient that I can drive out of it? The emotional quotient that I can drive out of it is that say time that I save, I can spend that time on something that I would rather be doing, right? Something that is more important to me. It could be work related, it could be spending time with my family, it could be time learning guitar, basically, or playing cricket, or even playing video games, right? But it drives an emotional benefit. It drives that emotional benefit of having time for myself. It makes me feel important. There's more for me. So try and go through the benefit ladder when you're trying to build your content for LinkedIn. And once you've built your content, try and put it on these 6 parameters, right? 5 parameters, right? See if it is relevant to me. See if it is educational or adding value. Is it informative? Is it something that is in keeping with what's happening around there in that particular segment or industry? Does it inspire me to take action? And is there anything that it adds to my skill set or my personal uh, knowledge base when it comes to, if I start using this, will I look smart, right? Something like that. Now, this is extremely important in terms of what you need to do and how much effort you need to spend on your LinkedIn content strategy. Ensure that 60% of your effort goes into building your brand's presence, into informational content, into something that will put your brand or drive eyeballs into your brand. If you do that 60% right, the rest 40% you can focus on actually getting conversions and transactions and getting leads out of those content pieces. This is not necessarily reflective of the kind of money. If you're looking at it from a paid content strategy, this does not reflect the kind of money that you put in or the split of money that you put in, though it is indicative. But it definitely represents the kind of or the volume of content that you should be putting out. Your 60% of your content should be about building that brand's presence. So that's why I say post daily, have an always on strategy. I'm sure everybody's seen that movie Queens, right? Which is sorry, the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, around the band Queen, right? They have a very famous song called We Will Rock You." Now that song has three different notes or three different strings to it. There is an there is a three-step beat which is dish, right, which is throughout the song. It never dies down. That's your always on strategy. So that is something that has to be there. So you have to put up content on a regular basis, daily, once in 2 days, or even once in a week, whatever decides is decided by you and your brand based on the requirements. And then there is the chorus, which is we will rock you, which is something that everybody is singing, right? The whole crowd is chanting that. It comes like 3 to 4 times in that song. So that is your brand uplift. That is where you need to put in money to enhance your brand's specific aspects, your USPs. And then there is something that the solos that Freddie Mercury does, right, wherein he's singing the entire stanzas and the crowd is listening. That is where your transactional uh, you know spends have to be. That is where your transactional campaigns, that is how your transactional campaign should be. uh, that because that is when you have the attention of the audiences completely. So just to summarize, this is but a simple summary of what we've just discussed. uh, put at least one content piece daily. Review your analytics on a weekly basis. Monthly notification feature should be identify the hashtags that are working for you. I'm sure we'll be sharing these presentation later on, so I would just leave it like this. Let's just quickly go through some best practices and then we can take some questions. uh, as I've pointed out earlier, try and use ungated content. Ungated content works far better and enshrines more trust in your audiences and the people who are looking at your brand page compared to gated content. In fact, 75% of buyers are less likely consider a vendor which is gating its content or asking for certain information upfront before giving out the more clearer picture. In fact, Gartner did this, and this comes from a study that they did with us. They tried to put up two different content pieces. They were similar content pieces, no differences. They gated one set of it. They ungated one set of it. In fact, what they saw was that ungated content performed 175 times better than the gated content. So always try and ungate your content. Give out information that is helpful to your audiences. That will only enhance trust in your brand. Invest in images. Always invest in images. Images are processed 60,000 times faster than text, and this is a scientific fact. So to grab that attention, if you have a relevant image signifying what is being said in the content, you're likely to grab the attention of the audience in a far lesser time, in a greater manner as well. Again, ask questions, make statements. If you have interesting facts to put them out. If you have facts that are validatable, that are something that are verifiable, don't make out statements that are not verifiable. LinkedIn doesn't work like that. You'll be called out for it. If you have stats that are backed by research and numbers, put them out. If they're interesting, put them out. If you think there are relevant questions to be asked, ask those questions. For example, if there is a pain point for data sciences people, say, hey, data sciences people, are you worried about this? Let me help you out. Ask those questions. They will help you get better traction. As I always said, always A/B test. In this particular example, the only thing that is different in the two banners is the image, nothing else. So even for the minutest of details, try an A/B test. See what works better for your content, for your piece. In this case, the image with the mobile phone and the laptop performed far better than the image of the woman, because it was more relatable to content marketing. It was more relatable to somebody who's doing or trying to write in content, right? And at the end of the day, brands don't do this often, but it works well. Try and have some fun. Don't be always serious. But when I say that try and have some fun, I mean that be creative. use caricatures in an interesting manner. Don't be demeaning. Don't treat it like Twitter or Facebook, but these things do help your brand stand out, right? And a great example of this is Infosys does this brilliantly well, wherein most of their content posts on LinkedIn are actually caricatures drawn, wherein an IT professional is talking to a data science guy, and they're both talking to each other in code language, but it might not be visible or does not excite the fancy of somebody like a business manager, but will definitely excite the fancy of a technical guy, because it is relevant to him and that particular caricature has gotten his eye. So try and be unique and creative as well. Thank you. I hope I've added value. I think we're just about on time. Dhruhi, over to you. If you have any questions, you can read them out to me and I'll be more than happy to.
Absolutely. Thank you for the super insightful session, Harry. We'll take questions from the audience now.
Yeah.
So I think one of the first questions were on the custom announcements that you had taken up.
Yeah.
Where is that option found and how can we use it?
So the option is on the right hand side of the brand page, top reel. You can actually, once you click on it, it will open a lot of fields. The first field is your location. Type in your location. The second would be the industry type. Put in the industry type, and the third would be to build your audiences, wherein it will give you the option of choosing what audiences you want to reach out to. For example, text, choose your audience. Once you hit submit, it will give you top trends and hashtags in that particular segment, and it will give you the top trending articles. So you can just click on those articles. If you want to share them directly, share them directly. But that's how it works.
Sure. Thank you, Harry. The next question is on LinkedIn Live. Do we need a third-party tool to go live on LinkedIn?
Yes, you do. We are increasing our, approved list of third-party tools every given day. In fact, Zoom is also part of it now. So if you have a Zoom subscription, you can use it to go live on LinkedIn. The only catch there is that you have to get LinkedIn Live whitelisted on your brand page for the very first time. So once that is done, you can absolutely go live whenever you want. In fact, once you've whitelisted it, you can use all the features, including creating custom events, which are closed door events, only inviting people that you want to invite and not going public. So, but you have to get that whitelisted, and yes, you have to use third-party tools.
Sure, understood. So another question we have is there anything specific that we should not be doing on LinkedIn that you see a lot of brands doing?
Yes, I've necessarily not seen a lot of brands doing, but I've seen a lot of individuals doing it. They make the mistake of starting conversations that are, hot or current on other social media trends. What I've seen them do a lot is they pick up threads from, let's say, Twitter, but they try to start a meaningful conversation around those topics on LinkedIn. Because the trends on LinkedIn are completely different from what's happening on Twitter out there. As I pointed out in the presentation, they are more sustainable trends. So that's something that I would highly recommend avoid.
Absolutely makes sense. Another question we had is that LinkedIn is getting cluttered with a lot of fake profiles. How do we make our targeting? How do we make our targeting foolproof?
There are multiple ways of doing that. In fact, if you go to the LinkedIn targeting parameters, let me give you two examples, right? There's something called job title targeting and there's something called seniority targeting, right? Job title targeting, somebody can fake a job title, right? Somebody can't fake a seniority, because seniority is decided based on an algorithm which sees your past record and sees how many years you've been in the industry, what is your position vis-a-vis your peers in the industry. So that's how it decides and puts you into that seniority bucket. So we are constantly working on putting up these targeting best practices out there which you can use, and you can definitely do that. You can reach out to me one-on-one if you have a particular case in mind. I'll be more than happy to help.
Sure. I think another question we had was around the specific industries CPL.
Yeah.
If we get, so we just take it overall, like if we do get high CPLs on lead generation campaigns on LinkedIn, what is the best ways to optimize those campaigns?
I would say that there's no generic answer to it. It is a very case specific answer. Your suggestions and optimizations would differ. I would have to look at them in a deeper way, and I have to look at what the problem is. On a
Absolutely.
very basics level, what I've seen, something that brands do wrong on LinkedIn is they don't use LinkedIn lead forms. They try and divert the traffics onto their landing pages and try and get lead forms there filled in there. Try and understand LinkedIn is a very trustable platform, and in certain cases it is more drivable than your landing pages. Now don't take it wrong, right? I mean, especially for new startups, because your awareness is not right there. So try and leverage LinkedIn, like, lead forms, capture leads. You can anyways download in a daily basis. You have access. Your client can have a separate access. Your agency can have a separate access. So one basic example, but I would love to see those scenarios, and I'll be more than happy to give suggestions.
Sure. I think those were the questions that we had from the audience. Any other key takeaway that we need to keep in mind on LinkedIn? And we,
something that I always tell all my partners and all our stakeholders is that don't consider LinkedIn as an ad hoc platform. It does not work like that. It's a platform where you have to gradually build your presence, and then your results are going to eventually get better and better and better. So it should be part of your long-term strategy and not your immediate short-term strategy. If you're looking for short-term goals, uh, you may get it, you may not get it. I'm not saying that you won't get it, but they might not be sustainable. So always consider LinkedIn strategy as your long-term strategy, wherein the idea is to build your brand's presence and then start cultivating conversions.
so that's actually right. We have a lot of clients and brands who run lead gen campaigns straight to the conversion funnel, run campaigns for say 9 to 10 days, and they don't see the results, and they sort of move away from LinkedIn. So yeah, I think it is a long-term strategy that we would require.
I mean, that's why I use that Freddie Mercury and Queen's analogy, right? You need to have a rhythm to what you do on LinkedIn, and the rhythm has to be continuous, and then you'll have the attention of the audiences.
Absolutely. We do have another question from Kaushik on how can you do affiliate marketing on LinkedIn?
Unfortunately, you can't. It comes from the same principle of keeping your audiences first, wherein we do not want to break the trust of the audiences, and hence there are certain aspects of advertising that we stay away from, and affiliate happens to be one of them. It might change tomorrow if the company decides, but today you can't.
Sure. I think those are the questions that we had. Thank you so much for your time, Harry, and that session was absolutely insightful and brilliant. Thank you for taking the time out and taking us through that.
Pleasure is all mine, and thank you so much to Digigrad for organizing this, and thank you so much for all the users who tuned in, and there were some very interesting questions and some insightful questions. So I always believe that the mark of a successful session or a successful lecture is that you get a lot of questions, because that means that people were listening. So I'm glad that there were questions in the end and I could answer them. Thank you.
There were actually a few more questions, but you had covered them in later stages of your presentation, where they were asking for the frequency of posting and everything.
Okay, sure.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Harry. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.